everyone. Liz Douglas here with Eden Growth Consulting. I want to talk today about sharing profitability with your employees. And I don't mean sharing it necessarily monetarily, although that may 100% be true. But I want to talk about specifically explaining to them how the company is profitable. I just took a company who's doing about 18 to 20 million in revenue a year from 0% profitability to about 20% profitability. And we did that through a myriad of things. But one of the things that recently happened that we implemented and we are going to continue to implement, it was a big eye-opener for the leadership team there, was that in the management training that has been going on, the COO actually came in and gave sort of a breakdown of the averages of the different categories. So nothing complicated, okay, like maybe 5 categories. So he basically laid out and said, here, this is, how much our average client is worth, as far as, how much revenue it brings in. This is our static percentage-wise advertising cost. Here's our payroll and, payroll basically, and then overhead percentage. And of course, these were broken down from percentage into a dollar amount. And he also had in there the actual cost to acquire a new client. So that was a relevant number. And then the total, right? So here, this is our average revenue per client. And here's all the things that we have to pay for. This is how much we're left with. And when everybody saw what they were left with, it was sort of like, okay, right? Because of course we all know that employees many, many times think, well, they look like they're making, buku money and I'm over here, slaving away. And when the truth is, maybe the company's not making any money, right? Like nobody knows that behind the scenes they're at 0% profitability, which is why I was there. And we fixed that. But my point is, you need your employees to know this, right? You need them to know it, not just so that you can, this is not to rub it in their face or anything like that, right? But it's to help them understand, because one of the things that came about from that meeting is that they started to ask, well, how do we fix this, right? Like it had never entered their mind that, oh, maybe I play a role in making the company profitable. And to a leadership team, that seems like, well, what do you mean? Like, of course you play a role. It's why you're employed here, right? But to the employee, this is not what they're thinking every day, right? So if you're on a leadership team or you're in a leadership position, CEO, COO, director of operations, anything like that, you have to understand that they don't see those numbers every day like you do. You see what comes in, what goes out, what the profitability, you see all that. They do not. This is not what they are focused on. And if nobody tells them, how could we possibly expect them to know this? And so then they started asking. We actually ran through and showed like, oh, so if we were to reduce our advertising costs by this much, or if we could, have a different way of bringing in leads and that would decrease our marketing, or if everybody who was scheduled 40 hours actually worked their 40 hours, we would reduce our payroll, right? And so all of a sudden that profit number got bigger. And the other piece of this that was just really impactful was that when you subtracted all of those and said, okay, here's the dollar amount of profit on that particular client, and then turned around and said, now I have to take that money and spend it on more marketing to acquire a new client. Well, that wasn't enough money. It was like half of what is needed to acquire the new client, who will then eventually make revenue 12 months down the road. And then it clicked, the light bulb went on that, oh, so we are profitable. So even though in their minds, they're probably thinking, oh, well, at least we're profitable. How do we fix this? And they were asking great questions as to how to bring down the cost of other things. But then what really was the kicker was them realizing that, yes, we're profitable, but just being profitable is not enough to sustain the ongoing day-to-day of the company, because we have to be profitable enough to go out and buy and acquire new clients, and that cost. And so that was such a huge impact for them, not only on a personal level, but for the entire company, because then the company gets to have people who truly understand. And this is not insinuating that you don't have to go and tell everybody in the company, because I know what, most CEOs are thinking, like, whew, like, I don't want to share you don't have to share all of this, right? You don't have to say this is how much we did if you don't want to. Baby steps here. You don't have to say the dollar amounts. You could say the percentages. We can do whatever we want, right? But there is a way to discreetly explain to your day-to-day people and your managers, and help them to train their teams, and to help their teams to grow in their career, but at the same time understand that this is how a company works, and you really do play a role in making the profitability be there. And so, and on top of that, most companies who have profitability are going to share some of that profitability. So that is also important, because of course the employee is thinking, well, why didn't I get a bonus at the end of the year? They're making plenty of money, but what they don't see is that maybe they're not actually making plenty of money, right? They have enough to pay your salary. Now, I know there's all the huge corporate companies that people complain about, but I'm talking about small businesses, right? Like, I work with small businesses from 1 million to 25 million. And in that range, most of the time, those companies may or may not be profitable. And so I come in, we get them profitable. But in the meantime, getting your people on board and helping them to understand, again, not to rub it in their face, not to shove anything down anybody's throat, but to give them some clarity. And they will, if you're a good leader and you are transparent with them and you show them what's really going on, they are going to look at that and say, oh, okay, well, what can I do? Right? And isn't that what we all want to do inside the company, is link arms and work towards a common goal and a vision? Yes. So if that is you and you're thinking, whew, like, yeah, it would be really nice not only to be profitable, but to explain it to my employees, just DM me. I'd be happy to help. And I'll talk to you soon.